SEC Media Day recap. Yes, I am home. I am not there no more. We're going to talk about that and a few other things here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. Thank y'all for pulling up. I'm your host, Jay. Thanks for coming here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. While you're here, please wipe your feet, like, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Give us 5 anyway and gift it. So, on today's episode of the Sooner or Later Sports Show, me and Coop's going to dive into a few topics around the SEC Media Days, like comments from the coaches, as well as give a critique of what we thought about Brent Venables' keynote speech. We're also going to talk about what Billy Bowman, Danny Stutzman, and Jackson Arnold had to say. Also, ask the question and answer it. Is Jackson Arnold going to be ready this coming season? Talk a little bit about recruiting because, of course, some news is starting to slowly come down the line. So, hit us up on the Unfair Fan Line, 430-901-1906, and let us know what you think of the show. Give us your strongest opinions. Maybe one day I'm going to start doing a call-in, and y'all can, we'll play the messages back. But hit us up, 430-901-1906. Coop, happy Wednesday, man. How you doing?
Doing good, brother. Doing good, man. I got to give you a little props, man. Great job out there in the old Dallas, Texas, with the SEC Media Days, and man, I just man, you did great, and I'm seeing some of your stuff all over everywhere.
Man, I appreciate that, man. It was very convenient that it was literally up the street around the corner that I could just hop in the car and drive there. 3-hour drive, getting down there, of course, as everybody knows, that's from the OKC area, 4 hours from Tulsa, but being able to be down there and be in the environment, it was pretty dope, man. Shout out to Locked On Podcast Network. They were the ones that were able to get me in there after me going through multiple avenues and asking multiple people and begging multiple folks to make it happen, and no one could, and they were able to make it happen. So joining Locked On Sooners was probably a good blessing in that capacity, and it's going to get us a lot more access and stuff that we can do. But it was really cool, man. If you've listened to OU Insider or Sooners Scoop or Sooners Illustrated, they've all basically talked about how massive it is, and in comparison to how what it was with the Big 12, right? Big 12 Media Day last year in Dallas area was typically in Dallas area, but they usually have it on the field at Jerry's Circus, right? At Jerry's World at AT&T Stadium. But this one, they had it in the Omni downtown. It was a very nice setup. They had it all broken off. So it was pretty legit there. 1,200 plus credentials were given out, which is more than double than what you got from the Big 12. And of course, we all know this year they did everything in Vegas, right? At Allegiant, which is really weird. They basically went to the home of the now dead Pac-12 and had the meeting. But I guess it's probably the one place that everybody could easily fly to that's not Dallas. So I guess it makes sense, but no, it was everything. I saw a bunch of folks. I got to shake Josh Pate's hand, Andy Staples, J.D. Piquel. You saw the big names. Paul Feinbaum walked by me a couple times. Todd Gurley was running around in a baked bean shirt. It was pretty interesting to see that because he was part of the celebrity in town to talk about that. But overall, man, dang good time. It was definitely worth being there. So in the future, we'll get us there. We'll do more and make more happen. But yeah. So besides that, Coop, did you get to check out any of the press conferences or whatnot?
Yeah, watched a bunch of them. Obviously, you being there live and in person, hitting us up with some good content, but a lot of good stuff. Caught Josh Heupel, Brent Venables did a great job. Sarkisian did a decent job too. I'll give him credit. It's July. That's when Texas does good things. So gotta say that. I'd like to hear Jeff Lebby. Just giving a lot of props out to Brent Venables. I didn't hear very many shots fired. And from a coaching perspective, so that was that surprises me. There were a couple of coaches who might have been stretching the truth a tiny bit. No pointing fingers, Brian Kelly, because we kind of know what we're looking at, and so when he said and Jacob, I think, brought it up already here in the chat that he said the deepest team Okay, I mean, sure, why not? I'll take your word for it. But if I lost we've lost a Heisman and a couple wide receivers here recently, and so we know what that looks like the next year.
Right.
And I know Nussmeier's going to be a great quarterback, but I mean, you lost. It's somebody who could have been potentially the number one draft pick, and the receiver factory that they've been pumping out. Neighbors is one that they're going to miss too. So we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, it was great. Got to hear. I like some of the stuff with Billy Bowman. Your question to Billy and Jackson Dart. That conversation. Like to see Billy. Giving props out to Jada. So that was great too. But just a lot of good content.
Oh, yeah. And we'll talk about all of those comments and stuff from the players in a moment. Let's start off with the coaches. And that's a question that actually popped up here. Jacob popped in the comments. What's going on? Hey, Topher. Hey, Lemon. Hey, Steve. Hey, everybody, for pulling up as you always do. But Jacob asked this question about LSU, similar to kind of what you alluded to. How can anyone explain how LSU is going to be good and why Brian Kelly said their team this year is the deepest he's had? Isn't their defense awful? And they lost a Heisman quarter QB and 2 extremely good receivers. That's 100% fair point. The only pushback I would give and kind of give props to Brian Kelly, he replaced that defensive coordinator who was really bad last year, right? He brought in Blake Baker, who coached at Missouri last year when Missouri had a pretty decent defense. And they brought back Corey Redmond, who just landed a freaking 5-star plus corner, and DJ was at Pickett today, right? So a defensive line coach. They brought in Bo Davis from Texas. So if there's anything I'm going to say about the defense is in about a year, they're going to be a problem, right? Bo Davis has already got people to commit there that was supposed to go to Texas or whatnot. He's flipping people like crazy and bringing people with him. Yes, I don't know about this year's defense. Their defensive line is really young, so they got a lot of work to do there. Yeah. I mean, Harold Perkins is still there, but I think Blake Baker's going to use him a hell of a lot different than the way he was used last year.
Yes.
Now, offensively, I am at the exact same point of trying to question, look, you lost two really good receivers and a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback.
Yeah.
Nussmeier's probably going to be solid. I still got to see it, right? We still got to see it. No different than what I would say about Jackson Arnold. We'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, with Nussmeier, I got to see it. So they're deeper than what they were before. They've got a lot of young players. Next year, they're going to be a problem. This year, we'll see what Blake can make happen. What you think?
Yeah, definitely. Bo Davis is a big pick because typically when somebody leaves Texas, they're usually getting fired. But this was an upgrade for LSU, and so that's a great pick. I mean, pulling over the Missouri DC. I mean, he made a lot of noise last year, so those are good things. But yeah, if you pull in Dominic McKinley, that's one brother. That's one dude who is going to show out, and so that would be like us having our defensive line from a couple of years back, and then just bringing in David Stone. That's just not going to do it enough. I mean, we've got Stone and Jackson mixed in with Dominic Williams. Did you see Coach Landers put out that Dominic Williams squat video? I mean, boy, side tangent. I think he had 2 different buildings on each side of the bar. The bar was on the struggle bus, but I mean, it takes more than one dude. But LSU is going to they're going to look different next year. This year, we do get them the last game of the season. So if they stay healthy, that's going to be a tough game because they're going to be it's going to be at their crib. It's probably going to be at night, and they're going to have who they are at that point is pretty much going to be locked up and secure.
No, I agree with you 100% there. We'll just leave it at that. But as you mentioned earlier, the shots fired or non-shots fired that came from there was pretty fascinating, right? You didn't hear really any of the coaches say anything negative. Tomorrow we got one more day, so Thursday things could, and if you're listening to this on Thursday, throughout that day you'll have the other guys. But what was funny to me was there was a lot of crossing in there of people that have crossed and worked with or been around either Sarkisian or Brent Venables.
Yeah.
Which I thought was, pretty fascinating in a way. And Brian Kelly gave praise to, Venables. Kirby Smart talked about how Oklahoma's in the right direction, and he sees that defensively they're gonna be a problem. Shout out to Kirby. The funny thing is there's a lot of fans. We'll say it this way: the fans of opposing teams have questions about what Oklahoma's going to look like. They're the ones that think Oklahoma's going to be super mediocre. But when you start listening to the national media talk about Oklahoma, the only concern they have, it is a concern. It's not a question. It's a concern. Is the schedule, because of how it's perceived to be grueling. But all of them know that Oklahoma is on the right trajectory. We still got the questions on line, questions at quarterback. But that's it. If those, as we have talked about numerous times, those show up, this season's not going to be anything that people wouldn't expect. I even had a Texas fan jump in the comments today of my last video from Media Days, and he said, hey, I hate to say this as a Longhorn fan, but y'all got it good being able to come under the radar. A lot of people are really doubting you in a way that they probably shouldn't. I was like, a respectable fan. Totally agree with that.
Look at that. No, and we've gone over the schedule ad nauseum. Like the way it's set up, the last push is going to be grueling.
November
It's going to be tough. And I think Sooner Cowboys just said it in the chat, like if you make it through that and end up going to the conference championship game, then you get thrown in just another one right there. So, I mean, everybody's going to pencil in Georgia. But again, I think that Brent Venables can use every single bit of this stuff that's out there. And but there wasn't any trash talking, because I don't think anybody else needs anybody else wants to fire up another team, especially when you don't really know what's coming in from Texas and Oklahoma. But the only thing that people really chalked up to trash talking was Harold Perkins talking about, was it Danny Stutzman? And and I don't think that was trash talk. I think that he was just saying something along the lines of, it's like, I don't know who that is. Like, I mean, he's a defender talking about another defender. He focuses on his game, and that's all. He puts his head down and just does his stuff. So he may not know who Danny Stutzman is. Just being honest with you. I'm pretty sure that a lot of folks in Louisiana aren't thinking about Oklahoma as much as we are.
Well, if you think about it, when has he had to scheme for Oklahoma yet, right?
Yeah.
We don't play until the last game of the season. So I totally understand why he wouldn't know about Danny and why he would say, who is that? Because he's a defensive player and he's playing, and then we're talking about another defensive player. Like, they're not scheming against each other. They're not even paying attention to each other, right? And Harold Perkins, genuinely, what I've heard about him is he really kind of just focuses on football. He doesn't really, he doesn't do, you don't hear him really talking much. He's pretty straightforward and just calm with all of it. And so, it felt genuine that he probably didn't know. And that's fine. He'll learn on the field. Whenever he hears the name called over and over for tackles, he'll be like, dang, who's this? So that's the dude that everybody's talking about. Dang.
That's that guy.
It'd been nice if we would have got him on our team. Can we get him a transfer? But no, like, those questions were always fascinating, especially when it comes to college guys. Because I say it this way, and this is kind of like my last piece on that. I want to talk about some of these quotes that have come down the line. I would be concerned if any of my defensive players, actually any of my players, were molding their game after somebody that's still in college. I would prefer you to watch the pros. Because if your goal is to go pro, I want you to play like the guys that got to the 1%. Not like the dudes that are still in college, right? Unless they're your teammate, right? There's a teammate that you're growing under. That's a different story. But opposing guys, no. Focus on the NFL dudes, the place you want to go. That way you can shoot for the star, shoot for the moon. Or if you miss, you'll land in the stars type deal, right? All right. Thank y'all for pulling up as usual. Hit that like button, wipe your feet, new to the channel, subscribe. If you're listening to the audio version of the show, rate, review. Give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it. Just give us 5 anyway and gift it. So, Coop, talk about some of these coaching statements, right? So Jeff Lebby and Josh Heupel got the opportunity to talk over the last 2 days. Lebby was today, Heupel was yesterday, right before Oklahoma, and it was very interesting. Of course, like I said, there's a lot of crossing here, right? Lebby and Heupel played while Venables was here, and crossing paths as coaches and staff. At one point, they were co-workers in some capacity. And I like how, let's talk about Lebby first. Lebby, of course, says that, he's indebted to Venables for allowing him to come here. But the one thing that interests me the most was his statement of he got to watch a guy be a first-time head coach and build a program. So my question for you, Coop, is that going to be a good way for Lebby to try to jumpstart himself there at Mississippi State?
Yeah, it is. He's going to take that respect factor. He needs to keep that lifeline because even though they're playing in the same conference right now, you don't want to burn that bridge and go back. Lebby, I promise you, Lebby understands the turmoil that happened between Heupel and Coach Stoops, and he sees just how that could kind of take something away from. These guys. I mean, there's very, very few times that coaches actually hate each other. Yeah. And so Lebby, we all know that there were a lot of folks, not too sad to see Lebby go this year. But if Lebby wants to reach out and, ask Brent Venables about certain things, he's going to have that available still. And, it's not really becoming of him to go in and, talk trash about Venables or say something bad about Venables or anything like that, because he gains nothing out of that. And you want to be able just to, take care of those relationships, because you never know when SEC churns out coaches pretty frequently. And, I think that Teddy brought that up and riled up everybody's feathers over there in Louisiana and across the SEC. But, there's one coach that has an SEC championship, and that's Kirby Smart. And outside of Kirby Smart, I think Kirby and Mark Stoops are the only people with 4 years or plus experience. So Lebby may need to find himself another job at some point, and he could go on to Mississippi State, blow that thing up, and it could be terrific. But if he does need something and he needs a spot to come and really hang out, then that's going to be something a bridge you don't want to burn.
No, that's true. And you see that, because the one thing is as mentioned in the past is, that coaching school of rehabilitation and Nick Saban was running. A lot of these coaches recognize that if you lose your job, hey, you may want to holler at somebody, right? So, that's...
Lebby ain't got too many other folks he can go holler at right now. Everybody else in his, kind of coaching tree is those leaves are withering, or they just straight dead. And you got to look at Shane Beamer. I'd say that he led it off the whole week with just massive amount of praise for Oklahoma. So just you want to be careful with how you say that, because now that you can have 473 coaches on your staff or analyst or whatever, he may need to come back. And also, he may want to ask Brent Venables about, something, one of the opponents. If we just get done with Auburn and they're going to go play Auburn, he might reach out and say, hey, did that give you guys fits? Like, how did you guys look at that? How did you guys overcome that? And Venables is going to be a guy who's going to be able to, I think he takes that call still.
Oh, no, I agree with you on that. He definitely would. And I think Heupel would for Heupel as well. And so, of course, Josh Heupel talked about working with Brent Venables. And it's funny, the biggest thing that he was kind of into was talking about all of the media members that now have come back in his face, because he hasn't seen the Oklahoma media in years, right?
Yeah.
Since he's been gone, it's been, at least 10 years. And so, getting to reconnect with some of them and everything. But I really jumped on and gravitated to that Kirby Smart quote, right? When he's talking about Brent Venables is getting the defense on point, and there's a very good chance that, that Oklahoma's defense is going to be really good, if not now, but definitely in time. I ain't gonna lie, that's pretty freaking legit that the top defensive guy in the country is saying that about Venables. So If you need it to be more bullish, ladies and gentlemen, that is that's why your boy here is hardcore about that. That's why your boy here has been talking it up, because the anticipation is, even though I don't know if y'all synced it. I need to actually upload the videos of all the interviews I did and the responses I got from folks. That'll happen probably tonight, be loaded up for sometime tomorrow. But yeah, Venables gave me like a 5-minute lecture on my question, and I had to I apologize to all of the insiders, and they laughed at me. He's like, "Dog, you good? Ain't nothing you could do about that." But yeah, that's definitely something you don't do. You don't have Brent Venables compare players. You don't have him compare eras. You don't have him compare, anything like that, anything on paper, because he's going to tell you about how they're going to have to work for it, and he goes on a tangent. We all know that Venables has a tendency of going, but I'm going to be honest. As we talk about him now, I thought he was very good in his presser, right? I know the Texas fans are very excited about Sark and the way that he presented himself as well. And I feel like both of them did a really good job for walking into the SEC and being able to handle the questions. Because, again, someone mentioned here in the comments, literally the question was, you're going to be SEC ready? And it's like, we hear now, I hope so. At this point, right? Am I crazy? Like, why are we getting this question now so much? Because that's the thing. Venables got it, and every coach before and after Venables and Sark got the same question. Do you think Oklahoma and Texas are going to be ready coming into the conference? Why are we bringing this? Why are we attacking that? That and horns down. I was really getting tired of horns down. I'm gonna be honest. Like, it was getting old. Like, come on now.
It is. Well, and Saban started off the whole week talking about Oklahoma, and I'll take it as a semi-shot at Lincoln Riley because, he said, they've always had these great prolific offenses, but the defense wasn't there, and now that's heading in the right direction too. And if anybody can say that, I mean, he had Kyler Murray and the Sooners down 28-0. So, I mean, he recognizes that. So, but it is an emphasis. It is something that that Venables has been working on since he arrived on campus, was getting he said it himself, the right people on the bus and in the right seats. And that, that goes from, having a guy like David Agwebu, probably should have been playing defensive end instead of outside linebacker. Jonah Lalalu, same type of situation, outside linebacker, then he goes into the defensive tackle. So, I hope that the fans, listen to Kirby Smart and Nick Saban when they realize that, like, listen, the OU's pointing in the right direction. And year 3, I think this is one of the big things that you've been bullish on, Jay, is year 3 is going to be something special because you now have guys who can play freely. And you saw a jump from Stutzman last year. Guys should have won the Butkus, but you don't get. I mean, you gotta be extraordinary to go from you're on one of the worst defenses in college football to winning the Butkus the next year. I mean, that defense better go from bottom to the top, or you gotta have 450 tackles, because that's just going to be a hard piece in the optics. Is let's see it again. But Stutzman now has that platform to kind of take off on. And with I'm being a big baseball guy, it's strength up the middle, and it is absolute up the middle is you Dominic Williams, DJ Terry, Stutzman, Kip Lewis, Kanik, and all the way to Bowman, RSJ, and Bowen. That is going to be the strength of your defense right there.
Yeah, and the good thing is I talked about it in one of my videos with Phil Steele. He has our linebacker and our secondary as the number 2 linebacker group and the number 2 secondary group in the country, which makes us number 1 in the SEC. And all we got to do is make sure that defensive line shows out, which we expected. We're still growing, still learning, but I do believe that defensive line is going to definitely surprise a lot of people. We won't see a lot of max protect. We're going to see a lot of 300-pounders, but I think we can get some of those around. But the interesting thing, too, was with the excitement of being at the SEC Media Days and having both teams there and everyone asking the same questions over and over. At a certain point, the dumbest question I heard was, I'm not sure who it was. I need to go back and rewatch the video so I can find the name, just so I can call them out specifically at some point. We'll do that a little bit later. But before I jump into what was said, Thank y'all for pulling up as usual. Hit the like button, wipe your feet, new to the channel, subscribe. If you're listening to the radio version, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Give us 5 anyway and gift it. Somebody from the media, Coop, asked this question. They asked Brent Venables about recruiting against Texas A&M and Arkansas now that they're in the SEC. Now that we're in the SEC. And Louisiana. LSU. Coop, dog. I heard it. I was gonna tweet it out, but I was like, I'm not. Just as y'all know, I'm a fan who got lucky enough to get a credential. I am not a reporter, so I don't need to report. I've reported on the funny stuff, especially when Kirby Smart was taking shots at Nick Saban, who was literally across the room looking at him when he said, "Hey, I got in here with a credential." I said, I walked in, I didn't need a credential. And then he looked over at Nick Saban, and Nick Saban turned around and just looked at him, and he started smiling. I was talking about the funny stuff that was happening, and then Drink saying the really weird thing about STIs, but we'll talk about that just a second. But no, they asked him about recruiting against Arkansas and Texas A&M and LSU. Now we're in the SEC. Bruh, did he not realize that we've been getting national players for years?
Where 2 of the top 3 players in Arkansas, where are they going?
Oklahoma.
Okay, all right. Dominic Williams, I'm pretty sure that last visit was in LSU.
Yeah.
And shout out to Coach Landers and Dom and the family. I mean, listen, they came here because Todd Bates and because the minds on the defensive side. And so yeah, when people do your research, listen, if you're and Truth, I saw your comment in here. I love you, brother, but man, when I throw bows at Texas, it's mostly at your content people who are absolute fluff, head in the sand guys, and I don't understand, and I'm not going to throw any large individuals under the bus right now because the bus got to drive other places. But some of these guys are just out there and they can report on their own team, but they don't look at anything else. They don't look anywhere else at all. And so for you to come out here, Oklahoma and Texas, for that matter, has recruited the whole damn country for years. For years. Texas doesn't end up in the top 10 almost every single year because Texas is just so full of talent, which it is. It's the biggest one. But Oklahoma has, listen, we ain't fielding 85 Okies. Listen, if we want a land run, let's get 85 Okies. But we get the best of the best from a lot of different places. It's been it for the year. For years and years and years. And that is everybody. That is Lincoln Riley. That is Brent Venables. That is Bob Stoops. So do your homework, Chief, and go through, take a little look. So and said, is that now in California? Yeah. So
yeah.
And
the guy in California said you can't recruit to Oklahoma, get national talent. We've got 3 straight top 10 classes. So look, my whole thing with it is this. And frightening, as you know, you the homie, you come in here, and I've said it before, Texas has a reason to be bullish about their squad as well. They're returning all their offensive linemen and they're starting quarterback that's been there 3 years underneath Sarkisian, which is a great thing for Sark to have a guy that's been around that long, right? Yeah. 3 years in, you have the same dude, that's something to be bullish about. So I have no issue with Texas fans and Texas being bullish about their team. You better be, right? National media-wise, when you're supposed to look at the big picture, they're going to be bullish because of the offensive line and the quarterback. My thing has always been about, with us, that's what they're saying, that's what the weak point for Oklahoma. But they're not looking at the thing that the SEC is infamous for, is defense. It's funny. I did a few hits over the last few days, and for those that, don't know the terminology, the uninitiated, I did some radio spots. I talked on the radio, a couple radio shows, a couple of YouTube channels, and I was on the news station in Montgomery this morning talking OU. I'll make sure to drop that in the comments so y'all can check it out. It was a pretty good little fun segment. We talked OU Texas. We talked OU coming into SEC, why we prepared, offense, defense, etc., so on and so forth. But what was not really looked at in the conversation around OU, and that's why this question to me was so darn dumb. It's people not realizing that we have done the national recruiting thing for a very long time. We have a very high blue chip ratio, right? So the thought that things were going to be just so tough for Oklahoma and Texas coming into the SEC, as if the only schools that's out-recruited them has been Alabama and Georgia, occasionally LSU, randomly with Texas A&M, but ain't a single team else in the SEC has out-recruited Oklahoma and Texas outside of those, right? Oklahoma and Texas would be top 5 every year in the SEC in recruiting. That's factual. That's not even hyperbole. 100%. That's not no BS.
You don't have to
factual.
You don't have to look through the roster. I mean, you got Florida, Indiana, Las Vegas, Maryland. You know, there's some Texas, there's California, Michigan, California. So I mean, that is on starting with
Washington,
jersey number 1, ending
Arizona.
at 5. Yeah, right. I mean that's the top like 10, 15 guys on the roster that I just pulled up. So it's listen, do your homework, buddy, and as soon as you're done, we'll let you come in and hang out with the adults.
Yeah, that's the thing that bothered me so much. It was like, guys, just do just an ounce of it, an ounce of the research to understand where Oklahoma and where Texas is set. And so with that, and when I'm talking about how Texas should be bullish and Oklahoma, while I'm bullish, is because of our defense in the SEC. When I did those hits for the Auburn folks, very fascinating. Had a conversation. Coop, do you know how many 3,000-yard passers they've had in Auburn history?
I'm going to go with 0.
Very close. They've had 2.
They've had 2. Did Cam go over?
Nope.
Because I was going to say, he had like 2,800, 2,900, because he also had like 1,500 rushing
yards, right. He ran for another 1,500 yards. They've had 2 in history. And I was sitting around a table with Auburn media guys. They were talking about that. You know, they're talking about with Hugh Freeze and their goal with Peyton Thorne to get him those yards and everything. They said, we got to get to 3,000-yard passer, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, oh, man. I was like, man, this is a crazy perspective in just hearing this in comparison to us. And they're like, really? Why you say that? I'm like, I don't think we've had a year where we didn't have – we probably had maybe 2 years in the last 20 years where we didn't have a 3,000-yard passer. And that's just probably me guesstimating on an injury potentially somewhere. And 1,000-yard rushers. We had a season with 2,000-yard rushers, and I think Sam Bradford had 4,000 yards that year too passing. And they're like, man, I bet that was fun. Bet that was a good time to watch. I was like, yeah, it was. It was fun football. It was a great time.
In 2010 and 2013 are the 2 seasons that Auburn had 3,000 yards passing.
Ain't that wild? To just think about that, right?
Not really, because I mean I still remember the days of Cadillac Williams, Ronnie Brown. You know those guys where you got that's where Auburn really had made their juice, was a stubborn defense. You know, a quarterback who made plays when he had to, and then a running game that was going to light you up. And so, doesn't blow my mind that it was Gene Chizik and Gus Malzahn were the 2 coaches that were there when they had those 3,000-yard passing. So, but yeah, I mean, you got to go back to the quarterback carousel of Cody Thomas, Trevor Knight, Blake Bell. I'm pretty sure that some folks from the stands got to play quarterback that year, but I mean that might be it, or maybe the Bomar year might be the only ones. I'd have to go back and look, but yeah, I mean OU fans would lose their ever-loving minds if we threw out a year where it was like 2,800 yards.
Yep. That was the point. It's like you see, that was the 8-4 years. So yes, I'm pulling up 05 right now because I'm actually now curious. Bomar threw for 2,000 yards that year in 05.
That was a rough year. That was
06. Paul threw for 2,600 yards, so he didn't hit the 3,000 mark. And then we got back to it with Sam Bradford the next year. But PT came in, that year, and did what he does best. He stepped up to the match, but he also had Adrian Peterson run the ball for him. But Adrian got hurt, so it was wild years. Just the fact that 3,000 is like, I mean, Sam threw for 4,700 yards in his Heisman year, and we had Chris Brown and DeMarco Murray both run for 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
Gosh, that 08 team should have done so much better. There's so many teams that we had that was. Anyway.
If you ever want to start running back returning kicks, just remember.
Oh, my gosh. Anyway, thank y'all for pulling up. Hit that like button. New to the channel, subscribe. If you're listening to the audio version, rate, review, give us 5 stars. All right, Coop. Let's talk a little recruiting, right? As everybody knows, you see here in the chat, Topher dropped the bomb for us that populated not too long ago, and I dropped it also in the Discord. We just got a crystal ball for Floyd Boucard, the defensive tackle, the composite 3-star out of Miami. He's probably one of the more upside defensive linemen. And he's actually someone that Coop had a conversation with. So, Coop, let's talk about that conversation you had. Now, he's a Rivals 4-star. He's considered a top 20 defensive lineman in the country to Rivals, 3-star overall, But he comes in at 6'2.5", 6'3", 315 like today. He's going to walk in at over 300. And he's from Canada. Cool. You had this man on a call with you while he's at the airport. He said, hey, man, I'm going to call you right now. Let's talk about it now. Talk to me about that interview.
I mean, Boucard's a great kid. This guy wants to build a legacy. And that is that's the number one thing. If you watch the interview, he wasn't as glowing about Oklahoma. And just to be honest with you, I mean, just when I'm talking to some of these guys, like I'm not pimping Oklahoma. Like I really do want to find out a little bit more about them. Now, if I feel like they're going to be a big Oklahoma lean, that helps out. But dude didn't even realize I was an Oklahoma guy until we got off the interview. And,
that's hilarious.
And so that was something there. He is committing on the 20th, which is that Saturday or Sunday?
It's Saturday. That is
Saturday. So it is Saturday.
If I find the time, we may go live if I'm around. We may go live for that. Because that would be
I got nothing Saturday. This is hot. When it's this hot outside, I just try to stay inside.
Absolutely.
But no, he is. You look at the offer list. Don't look at the stars on this cat. I think his Twitter says 10-star. He calls himself a 10-star. He is a Haitian background, out of Canada. Was playing hockey and soccer, and then somebody, his cousin got him to go and start to play football, and so I think his cousin did it right. And so this is a kid who I've been pretty calm about his ending up at Oklahoma, because I thought that because of him wanting to take care of his family and wanting to be there, I thought the NIL piece was going to be pretty important for him. But you look at his offer list. I mean, kid's got like 40 some odd offers. Everybody who was anybody wanted him. One time last week it was OU, USC for some reason, Alabama, and Miami. And so he's down in Miami, and you don't typically pull Central Miami kids outside of Miami. They typically stay home. So it is going to, if he does pull the trigger and calls on OU on Saturday, this is don't look at the stars on this guy. This is one of those guys that in 1 to 2 years, you're going to see him rotating in, and you're going to be like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that guy. And we've got a younger core already. So you bring in Kamora Moore and Floyd Boucard on the inside. You add them to David Stone, Jaden Jackson. I'm hoping Dominic Williams has a year to where he is a top 15 pick, but I mean, he is a junior, so he does have another year, but we've got a young interior. So that is that's a crew that you're going to want to continue to stack talent at, because you need 6 guys in the SEC, as Keith Holcomb, our Bama guy in here, is probably can attest to that, is you don't want to roll out there with 3 or 4 defensive tackles that you can put on the field. You want every single one of those guys to see game time.
100% agree. And so looking at his offer list, you said it spot on. That's the one thing if you've watched any of my recruiting videos, which I'll probably drop another one on Boucard very soon and talk about, but that's the one thing that I preach heavily on, right? It's Go look and see who offered the kid, regardless of how many stars they have. Who is offering the kid? And when we look at this, you've got Bama, of course, Oklahoma, like you said, USC, Miami. But on this list also, teams that are really good on the defensive line. Cincinnati, we'll give them a little props. Florida State, Georgia is on this list. LSU, Louisville, Missouri, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Oregon's on the list. And we know how Oregon's been doing in recruiting, right? Right? I mean,
they're wearing out that Apple Pay.
bruh. Our guy, Phil Knight, said, look, it's funny because Kirby Smart even said it in his opening monologue that he hung out with Phil Knight and his wife, Penny. And he said that he'd love to get some of that NIL that Dan Lanning's getting, and started cracking up because, of course, Lanning is his guy, former defensive coordinator. But no. This list is long with people. Auburn's on the list. Arkansas. Heck, Vanderbilt's on here. Tulane. Everybody's anybody. Penn State, South Carolina. Everybody's anybody that like defensive linemen. It's on this list. For a guy to be a 3-star, why is everybody after him? That's the question you should ask yourself, right? Sometimes the offer list gets people's stars bumped up. But for Floyd, he hasn't been playing for 2 years? And so he hadn't been playing for 2 years, and he's from Canada. He played hockey, so he's physical, like you said. He's just not known yet. That's it. That's the only reason why he's a consensus, a composite 3-star. Ain't got nothing to do with true ability, because all these schools see the high upside. Now, if he comes in there with the right motor, he's going to be a monster. Trap, what it do? I appreciate it, my man. I'm trying to, man. We trying to get there, dog. That's all we trying to do. I need to get you on the live soon. So, keep your options open in the next 2 weeks. We're going to make something happen. I promise, Trap. We're going to get you on here. But no, it's always that, Coop. Like you said, you got to pay attention to that offer list. Yeah. And from there, you've got four? But we got about 3 other dudes that we're really looking at. Of course, you got Fasusi, which is at the end of August. Honestly, there's no point in beating that dead horse right now until probably closer to commitment time. I think probably the week before in August, when things seem like we may be wrapping up, we can talk about them. But you got Cade P-Check on the edge. And then you've got Christian Jones at linebacker up there in Nebraska. So you got the North Dakota guy, Nebraska guy that's really left, man. And that's probably the last portions of the list. This would leave us, honestly, this would give us a lot bigger class than I expected. I think that puts us, right now we're at 21. If we were to land all 4 of those, that's a 26-person class. Coop, I didn't think we were going to go that big.
And I still say that there's still, and I hate saying this out loud, there's still a safety out there that if he shows up on campus, things will get a little exciting.
Oh boy.
I don't expect it still, because it's one of those deals to where, listen, it's just you put that away. If that happens, people's heads are gonna blow up. But I mean, that the class was always going to be around the 23, 25, and this is the life we live now. I mean, you see Alabama doing it. You see Georgia start doing it, to where you've got to completely roll some of those guys out, and being process is not something that Brent Venables wants to be doing. But these kids nowadays, they know that they can go and they can make money, and I think that we said it actually in the Boucard interview. When I asked him about playing in the SEC, was that a big part of, or which conference was that a part of your decision? He said, no, if you're a baller, people are going to find you, which I agree with. And now with the 12-team playoff, you get some national attention regardless. So, I mean, you look at Boise State. Boise State kind of disappeared for a few years. Now, there's a lot of people saying that they're going to potentially be one of those teams that are going to sneak in from the group of 5. So, you don't want to see any processing like that. You want to see guys who want to be here, and you need Here it is, everybody. You need competitive depth in the SEC to keep it going. And so you're going to be rotating folks in and out, and you're going to want to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Coop, for doing that. You're going to have me having to go to the bathroom the next couple minutes. And Brent Venables hit me that way, too. It was kind of funny, you know, whenever I was, when he answered my question for 5 minutes, he actually threw in a whole bunch of competitive depths. And I was just like, dang, man. My bad, y'all. I didn't mean to do that to y'all. But, no, man, we're winding down on the recruiting, looks like, which I'm kind of excited that we'll get to the point that once the season starts, we'll be very light on the recruiting portion of it for the most part. We may even have our full class. May still, like you said, go after, you know, a particular set of players that we still have interest in. May try to flip a few guys that we still have communication with or whatnot. But, yeah, we may be wrapped up August. This would be the earliest. I don't think 26 is going to be like that. Now that we know that going forward, we know the rules. It's going to be 80, you know, it's going to be whatever the scholarship number is. We don't know what that number is anymore yet because that's going to probably go up going into next season. But we know that you can recruit up to that number. They're not going to limit the class sizes. So next year, we probably will have like 5 commits going into like April, and I think everybody's going to lose their collective minds back like they did the first 2 years. Why don't we have guys committing? Because we do our commitments in June, July, and August. That is when we like to get everybody going. We like to get the visits out, let them get their visits, have their fun, enjoy their process, and then hopefully they commit before their senior season. But the good thing is we got our quarterback, which is the only thing that matters. So I am leaning heavy now. We see our first crystal ball with Tom Lloyd. I'm sensing that we're probably going to see, I'm leaning towards a commitment of Floyd to Oklahoma on Saturday. Now, does he have a time?
I don't think so. I might have to hit him up.
Let me go look. I'm going to go dig into his deal. You may hit him up and post him. He is just scheduled for the 20th. He does not have an exact time. I wonder if he's going to go on any stations. Look at his social medias really quickly. Let's see.
Hey, also real quick while we're looking that up, you know, Sooner family guys, anybody, we always want to just give you guys some, give you some love. SEC Sooner Life, Sooner Kyle, one of my boys here in Broken Arrow, had to let the puppy down today, so I want to give a shout out to him. Our thoughts, our prayers are with you, brother. Man, I hate that for anybody. Man, so I mean, if you guys got news like that, you just need some support. You want to take your head and mind off everything. You know, check out one of our videos. Watch me stumble around. Watch Jay's internet freeze. It's always a good time.
Yeah, we always have fun with that, right? And thanks for bringing up all of my misfortunes. I appreciate you clowning my interweb. I think it's going to get better, though. I've heard that things are supposed to be getting better on that side, so I'm no longer complaining. But I'll say this. I'm stoked. All right. We're going to probably wrap this bad boy up, put a bow on it a little early, let everybody enjoy the rest of their evening. Final thoughts, Coop. We'll pass to you, my man.
Yeah, Jackson Arnold, Billy Bowman, Danny Stutzman.
Oh, yeah, we got to talk about the players. I didn't even get to that point. My bad. We started going on tangents. I forgot about talking about their interviews.
No, it's all good. Like, you know, these guys, I love our players. And I don't know if you guys see DJ Uyunglele, his quote about going to the ACC Media Days, and he turned it down because he said he wanted the players that were on the team last year to go and represent the university. Like, shout out to DJ. Respect. I mean, that man he's had a ride with his career. But, Jackson going out there, it cannot hurt that he's hanging out with those boys, with Stutzman, with Bowman. Those are awesome, times for him to be able to be around them, to see those things, because Jackson does have a lot of weight on his shoulders. Our clown show that out west that was going off on OU after Feinbaum dropped a bomb on him, said OU's pushed all their chips in with Jackson Arnold. Well, I mean, yeah, we have. If anybody's ever asked, like, did Dylan Gabriel leave because he didn't want to be here anymore? No, Dylan Gabriel left because he didn't get an NFL grade that he wanted, and he could make more money playing somewhere else. And apparently Oregon has a few dollars to spend. So they needed a quarterback to step in right then and there. And that's just basically it. He was told, you are going to have to compete for the quarterback job if you stick around. And you go back to some of the mop-up duty and just some of the throws that you've seen Jackson Arnold make. Like, that boy has talent. So my full-on expectation is to see Jackson Arnold play within himself. I think the Arizona game, they just said, Jackson, go out there and do it. And, our defense, paid for it. You didn't see complimentary football in that bowl game because we turned the ball over 6 times. Yeah. So I think Jackson knows that he can show up this year and play within himself. He's got an arsenal of weapons all the way around him. And a defense who is going to be able to, give him the ball back. So, I'm really, really excited about that. Listening to Billy Bowman out there talking, Stutzman trolling the Texas guys, and truth, he doesn't have a tattoo on it. And so when Mr. Ketchum brings that up, I wanted to put him in his place, even though he's doing it for a reaction. But
it's, fourth wall break inside of a fourth wall break. So it's like 16 walls.
16th walls, yeah. So great Deadpool reference before and during the show. Love it. But this is great to see Jackson out there. I mean, he gets to go do his first big press conference in his hometown, essentially. So that's always a great piece too. But I liked a lot of the players. What I saw from a lot of those players, not just from Oklahoma, just from across the board, these guys know that. I mean, you can walk in as part of the SEC during SEC media days, and it just means more. Like, there's eyes upon eyes there. And so you just seeing the cameras and the people stacked up, behind, anybody speaking. That's a pretty cool sight. And I think Jackson's going to be game.
I'm totally with you on that. I think Jackson Arnold's going to be fine. I mean, his accolades are not even what I need to talk about. We saw it, like you said, in the Arizona game. We saw the potential. We saw what he can do. The bigger thing for him was he just needed to execute on it, right? And, he made his early mistake. Then he, changed from that. It was like you saw, I forgot who mentioned this, Andy Staples. I think Andy Staples actually talked about this with Teddy and them. But he said that you saw a true freshman quarterback play. Then you saw somebody, you're like, okay, I see the potential now. But then you saw a true freshman come back out. That stuff should probably start subsiding, especially because he's being forged in fire with the way that Brent Venables plays defense. I was going to ask Brent about that, about the Kevin Wilson comment when they played Tulsa, and ask the question of, is that how you're forging Jackson Arnold, similar to how you helped forge Sam Bradford? I was going to wonder if you were throwing it all out. But, of course, I made the mistake and asked the question that led to him going on a 20-minute tangent. But that's the question, right? If Venables is treating this situation like he did back in the early 2000s against Tulsa, when him and Kevin Wilson going back and forth, man, we got a dude that we didn't know who he was, ended up winning the Heisman, right? Who's going to complain if he can get close to that, right? I mean, do I expect 4,700 passing yards? Absolutely not. I do expect 3,000. Just because we know how Self Latrell does things. He's a very good on pace, and he likes to put up numbers. So the expectation is, I don't think we hit 40 points a game like we did last year. I think we drop in the 30s, kind of like what Phil Steele was looking at us. But it probably is more. Now, let's wrap it up with this, though. I got one more thing. Can we kick? Let me go ahead and kick PG real quick. Give me a second. Let me block this.
Jake, I'm just telling you.
Real quick.
I'm just telling you.
Let me put him in timeout. There we go. PG is now in timeout.
26 is here, Jay. I know that you.
It's not a real year. It's not a real year, and I just muted PG for the next few minutes. He's now timed out because he's going to keep. Why is he responding? Let me time you out. Where's this timeout button? Put user in timeout. There we go. We're timeout in PG. PG show is now in timeout. It is not a real year. We got a quarterback, though. So, yes.
And a running back and a tight end.
But yes, we got the quarterback, which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
But it ain't a real year. Actually, you know why I'm doing this? I had 2 people I needed to promote while we're sitting here. Where is he? There's Duck. Congratulations.
And Keith, we understand Feinbaum is he's Jim Rome today, right? Like that's what he is. It is all about SEC, not SEC, but ESPN. They gave him that platform, and it's just a personality. But I mean, you got to think that like that's how you have to have polarizing figures who aren't going to demand contract upon contract upon contract. And that's ESPN has to do it. Is you can't have all the big names anymore because broadcast TV is on the struggle bus massively.
Exactly. And, outside of the Feinbaum deal, Feinbaum is always interesting characters in general because he's been doing this for so darn long. But hey, real quick on this. The Eli Drinkwitz set of comments, we'll end this in the last 5 minutes with this. So for the direct quote for those of y'all, he said that Caden Green has STIs.
Okay. Let's be practical.
Not what y'all think. It's size, toughness, and intensity.
It wasn't integrity. I know that for damn sure.
Wasn't that? But he said STIs. My boy, what are we doing here? I get that it's fun to create these little acronyms. Dog, you can't do that. And then he, of course, talked about how did PG come back in another account? Let me go ahead and let me mute him in the second account. Time out for PG. Kidding. But no, but this was an interesting. Steven, thank you for pointing this out because this is the one that I want to talk about. I'm gonna fight PG for going to his other account. He said that Green is playing guard right now.
Yeah.
In which, he played a little left guard for us, but we had him for a tackle. And he, Drink mentioned that, when Marcus Bryant got there, they slid, Caden down the left guard. And, he's a company guy. He does a very good job of, helping out where needed or whatnot. Cool. What you think about that, man? It's kind of an interesting statement, right? I mean, because wasn't that like a complaint?
I mean, Coach Rick Moranis is always coming up with. Eli Drinkwitz is always coming up with some weird stuff, and I don't. What are you trying to do? Seriously, what are you trying to do with that? Like, you didn't sound smart. Whatever intelligence that people thought that you had still. So, it just confirms. It's as soon as the season gets going, I think Missouri, they've got damn near an AAC type of schedule. I think it's just I got no answers, Jay. I really don't. I don't know what that's about. Like, it just confuses me how that guy would come out and say something like that. It blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind.
It's fascinating because we've got 2 more crystal balls that popped in. Colin Kennedy just dropped his crystal ball. Brian Dunn from the National Recruiting Analyst over there at 247 also has dropped his crystal ball. This sounds like we have some possibilities, guys. Get yourselves excited. But no, he talked about how, he got, Caden Green as soon as he hit the portal. They recruited him hard. And then, when he got in the portal, they decided to reach out because they were super excited. I'm not going to get any speculations. I'm not here to be liable of any libel or whatever you call it. But I'm just going to say this, though. I thought it was fascinating that this man said that he's now playing left guard. Now he'd be our starting right tackle right now. Hell, he'd be the starting left tackle if he stuck around.
Again, I don't care. Like,
I don't either. It's just very fascinating.
If anything, Mizzou, Keith, you are 100% right, and I've said it. You're not sneaking up on anybody. You are. They did what they did last year. Listen, Luther Burden, he's great. Quarterback, he's good. They lost their DC. They're not sneaking up on anybody.
Nope.
When they play the bigger boys, it's going to be real. And I say that this coaching staff, takes each game. And Keith, tell me if I'm wrong. after A&M, comes out and beats Bama and then starts talking about like we ruled the SEC, I'm pretty sure Bama went in that next year and was like, all right, let's do this. And so that's why you don't see any trash talking in the SEC media days. Why do you want to have any type of target on your back? And I think that, people just they'll want to put Missouri in the locker because they messed around and had a winning season for the first time in I don't know how long. And so they thought it was something special. Congratulations, Missouri fans. Welcome to Winner Circle. You were there for a short minute. So
right.
let's see what happens. But yeah, Caden Green going to the guard, all the stuff that we heard about everything, we know for a fact that he got a pretty big. Floyd said 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 247.
All right, 3:30 Central Time. Thank you, Floyd, for giving us that update live on the show. That's the man. So now you know when he's going to actually commit. So for those that did not know that, 3:30 on 247?
Yeah.
All right. We've got a date and we got a time. Yeah, your boy's pretty excited now because the balls are flying in. And now we've got a time. So now I know exactly when I need to be getting my life together.
So we might have a little watch party. So it's we don't have many more watch parties for this year left, and I'm hoping that at the end of this month we'll be all but locked up, and Fasusi's the last one. So
that would be awesome. I still feel like he's our David Stone recruitment this time around. I'm hoping that he's the big one, the big fish that comes in, and then you start seeing more stuff populate with him. That will be dope. But let's go with it. All right. Anything else you want to close with? I thought I was going to be out here within an hour, but looks like no. We've got more.
I got bubbles from Floyd, so I'm waiting on that. But no, it's all
right.
I think we got Sooners Under the Stars, Party at the Palace coming up too. Because there's years in the future that are going to be coming at us soon. But NCAA 25, Jay, you haven't played it yet, right?
Nope, I got it loaded up. I'm actually, as soon as I get off here, I'm going right to it. Turn it on and watch the video and see it all light up in front of me.
Take a Xanax or something, and start low. Don't do like somebody else did and go straight into Heisman. That said, you got any words for the viewers? And he said, ha ha ha, you ain't getting me like that. Tune in Saturday, 4:30 Eastern.
Thank you, Floyd, for the good laugh, man. We appreciate it. All right, we'll see you definitely on Saturday. All right, thank y'all for pulling up. Per the norm, wipe your feet, hit that like button, YouTube channel, subscribe, jump in the comments, give us, your thoughts and stuff if you're watching this later. If you're listening to the audio version, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Just give us 5 anyway and gift it. If you're over on the recruiting site, we will have some more videos coming down the line on the way to the commitment. We'll probably need to start going some reviews of since you think it's a real year, Coop, I'm just going to go ahead and task you with making videos around these recruits in 2026 that you just love so much. Since it's a real year to you, it ain't real to me. It ain't real until this class signs, in my personal opinion, or we get a commitment. But yes, thank y'all for coming, man. We appreciate everybody. Enjoy your evening. Locked On Sooners, we'll have our video in the morning, me and John. So we'll probably record here in a bit. But yeah, with that, we'll chop it up, I don't know, in the next day or two. Peace.